Why have we come to earth? Do you remember? Why have we taken birth? Do you remember?
Our wonderful Heartsong choir under the direction of Chris Johnson. Thank you. The ones who are leaving have heard that the talk isn't very good, so they're going to take off. And no, actually, they're going to feed us after the service. They're going to prepare food for us. So, thank you very much. I have this full feeling already. So our talk topic today is that there is only one life. And we've heard that, haven't we? If you've been around this church more than once, you've probably heard that more than once. And the dance is, how deep can we go with that? How deep can we go in our lives with, there is only one life? When we look at each other, when we look at people that frustrate us, like the Carolina Panthers are doing right now for me, like certain politicians are doing for people, like certain relatives are doing for people, when we look at each other, can we really get that there is only one life? And take that in more deeply. Now, it doesn't mean we have to like what another person does or like the other person, but is there only one? Can we actually look and say there's only one life, and this person is part of that life? A friend of mine was sharing this morning that she was listening to a certain politician who's in the news a lot lately, who's well known for his hair. I personally didn't think that was the best way to start off a morning, and she didn't either, by the way. Regretted it. But can we listen to whoever it is that upsets us? Notice our upset, but still see the God within them. Can we listen to that? Can we perceive that? So our quote that we're looking at today is, we see all people, all beings, and all life as expressions of God. Can we see that? Can we have our vision so clear that I can see God no matter who I'm talking to, no matter where I'm with? I can even see it in that dog that Cynthia brought home. Yes, I lost. The dog is there. She's cute, kind of. Can we see that God, can we see that one life everywhere in operation? And when we can't, can we say, you know what, I can't see it, but I'm willing to. I'm willing to let it come forward. Ernest Holmes in the Beverly Hills Lectures gives an example. He says, suppose each one of us goes out into an unknown country and works an acre of land. There are 250 acres, and each one will take an acre in the same land. There are not 250 different kinds of creative processes in the soil. There's only one kind of creative process common to the 250 acres. But we are people. So each of us plants the plot the way he or she likes it. Then everything is different when it comes up, and people who see it say, here are 250 individual acres of land. He says, there is no such thing. Those are 250 individualized plots of one creativity operating through the same soil. So each of us plants seeds. Each of us plants what it is that we want to have grow in spirit. Spirit shows up as this creative urge in all of life, and we get to choose what we create. It's our freedom of choice. And that, as we know, if we've been around this teaching for a while, is both the good news and the bad news, right? We plant what it is that shows up. And what it is that shows up is what we have planted. So we can plant seeds or we can plant grumbling. Ernest goes on to say, the world will bury us with our grumbles. I don't want to be buried with my grumbles. There's a difference between being planted and being buried. There's a difference between being planted and being buried. And the difference is what we expect as an outcome, what we see, what our expectation is of what comes next. See, when you bury something, you don't expect to see it again. Right? Okay? But when you plant something, you expect to see a life come out of it, something new, something fresh come out of it. And so are we being planted or are we being buried by Spirit? And do I feed my seeds? It's one thing to know a seed, to have a seed, and to say, this is my seed. It's another thing to plant it, to feed it, to honor it until it shows up as the plant. See, Martin Luther King had a seed, we honor this weekend, had a seed, a dream, a vision of a world that works for all, by the way. Okay? Of little white boys and little black boys and little white girls and little black girls in a circle holding hands as one. Okay? He didn't just have the seed, he planted the seed, he worked the soil. He showed up, he marched, he got thrown in jail. He did the stuff he needed to do to take that dream and plant it and to make it and to move it into form. Okay? So spirit seeds, if you've ever seen seeds, they come wrapped usually, sometimes, right? Well, they almost always come wrapped in some sort of if you're buying them, they come wrapped in something. Spirit seeds come wrapped in passion. Passion. The word enthusiasm, if you break it down in the Greek, is entheos, the God within. Theos, God within. Okay? The enthusiasm, the passion we have, that is the Spirit moving through us. That is the Spirit, that is the activation process for the seed. Everything needs something to germinate it with, and Spirit's germinating process within us is our passion. When I consider the world, what am I passionate about? And sometimes that passion looks like, what am I really ticked off about? That's really got me going emotionally. And then out of that, if I'm ticked off about this over here, what is it that I really want to create? If I'm listening to that politician and I don't like what that person is saying, what is it that I really want instead? And am I passionate enough about it to do something about it? To do something about it, to support the process of happening. Because otherwise it's just an empty seed that will sit on the top of the soil and blow away. Where do I feel called to activate the one mind, the one creative process within me? What is it that I'm listening to? What is it that has been knocking on my door, perhaps for decades, that wants to come out in my life? And will I let it out? If I'm not activating the one mind, I'm sleepwalking through life. One of my ministerial friends talks about that there's a fascination right now with zombies. Have you noticed? Cynthia and I have a game called Zombie Dice that we play. I got it from my daughter. And there's this fascination with zombies. And part of it is that because his speculation was that there is a zombie side to us. A place where our dreams are dead and we're sleepwalking or dead walking, dead man walking through life. Okay? Can we start to activate that? Can we start to bring that back to life? The Christian mystic Teilhard de Chardin said that joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. Joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. Where in your life is joy? Take a breath for a moment with me. Where in our life, what brings us joy? Where are we living in joy? And if we're not, then we're not really allowing that Spirit to fully express through us. Okay? Each of us has had a moment or time in our period in our life where we've lived in joy. It may have been fleeting, it may have been for a long period of time. And when we do, we feel very activated, right? We feel very passionate about what we do. We feel just, spontaneous and good. That's the Spirit activating through us. And when we do that, we're actually expressing our God nature. So when I look at the world, where do I want to plant greater joy? Where do I want to plant greater joy? What am I passionate about? See, we tend to bury our joy. We tend to bury our passion. I don't know if how you were raised, but I was raised with the kind of a keep it down, keep a lid on it sort of mentality. In fact, it was best to be invisible in my house. Okay? And living your passion and joy is not being invisible. They're kind of the opposites. Okay? So we tend to bury our joy. We tend to ask, well, who am I anyways? I love that Marianne Williamson quote, who am I to be fabulous, passionate, alive, vibrant? And she, of course, asked the counter question, who am I not to be? I'm a child of God. Playing small does not support the world. Okay? So we bury our joy by just, I don't think I'm worthy of it. Who am I? I can't make a difference here. So I'm just going to play small. I'm just going to not bother. We can live in our past failures. I tried that once. It didn't work. Think of the Wright brothers trying their first airplane. That didn't work. Let's go build bicycles. Okay? Think of most of the inventions in the world that they tried, failed how many times? Time after time after time. Light bulbs, Edison, wasn't it something like 10,000 times that he tried to get the right filament before he finally hit on it? Okay? So living in past failures. And what that does is creates an expectation of future failure. So then I don't bother to try anymore. Because what do I see in my future? I see more failure, so why bother? So what are my expectations? We talked about whether the difference between being planted and being buried are what we expect to happen next. What are my expectations? Do I see success? Do I see failure? Do I see something new and wonderful? Do I see the same old, same old, same old? What are my expectations? And this is the core of what we want to work with, is what do I expect? See, I've never seen a successful team go into a sporting event expecting failure. I've never seen a parent giving birth to a new child expecting that child to end up as a failure and a drug addict at birth. Okay? I've never seen a new business person starting a business that they're really excited about, expecting it to fail. Hey, I'm just starting this business to fail because I haven't had enough failure in my life, so I think I'll experience some more. We don't do that. What is my expectation? And will I expect that if I have this idea, this passion, this joy, this seed that is trying to come through me, will I have an expectation that the infinite presence that has given me this idea, that has given me this seed, will also provide everything that is necessary to feed that seed and to make it grow? See, when I plant tulips in November, I expect that they will come up in March, or whenever they come up around here. January, I think. Okay? But I don't plant tulips bulbs expecting them to not show up. Okay? So how are we with the seeds that we plant in our consciousness? What is it? It's like, well, it'd be nice if that showed up. It'd be nice if I won that 1.5 billion lottery. Is it still 1. Did anybody win that? Huh? 3 people won it. Okay, we have to start over again. I have to probably start with just a few million. Not worth it. Another way we bury our joy is we don't know how when we start. We don't know the how. Trust me, the Wright brothers did not know how to create a plane that flew when they started. Okay? Nobody knows how when they start. Judy, our wonderful pianist over here, did not know how to play the piano when she first started. She started off by playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star badly, the same as almost every other piano player. Something like that, right? Chopsticks. Okay, badly. Okay, we all have to learn the how, but so many in our culture, so there's this a culture thing that if you don't know how to do it, don't bother to start it. Okay, and so will I start it not knowing how? Well, I just know I have this urge, I have this passion, I have this thing that is burning through me, and I don't know how to do it, but it's burning through me, and I'm going to have to find out how. I'm going to start it. I'm going to take the first step. Another way we bury our joy is we tell ourselves we don't have enough time. We have time for everything else. We have time for TV and the stuff that brings us down, but we don't have time for that which brings us passion and joy. And if that's the case, then where is our priority in life? Am I really believing in myself, my capital S self, enough to give it, to feed it with the joy that it needs? Am I looking at it and saying, wait, what's the priority in my life? Most people don't die sitting there going, I wish I had more time to pay bills. Okay? They say, I wish I had taken this dream that I had and made it happen and gotten farther along in the process. Most people have regrets when they die. That's the regret. So what brings me joy? I'm too old. It's too much work. Okay? Again, there are people starting things off at any age, every age. I'm too young could be another excuse. Okay? But there are people that are starting off their dreams, their passions at any age, and making it happen. A couple of examples. Sarah Blakely. Anybody know who she is? Never heard of her name, right? She's the youngest female billionaire, self-made billionaire in the country. Her product is something called Spanx. All the women say yes. All the guys are going, huh? Okay. It's a support hose product. It's a modern day corset and shaping, body shaping things. Okay? She started that while she was selling fax machines door to door. And she started it because she needed to figure out a solution. She had a pair of pants that didn't match, so she cut the toes out. She wanted the body support, but she didn't like the way that it works, so she cuts the feet out of the particular pair of pantyhose that she likes and gets the support that she wants and says, there's no product like this for women. She comes up with this idea of creating the support, what do you call it? Pantyhose for your body. Pantyhose for your whole body. Pantyhose for your whole body, thank you. Okay. I knew I could turn to a woman. As she started this up, she took it to a number of different mills where they made pantyhose. Do you know what she found out? Who ran the mills? Who designed the pantyhose? Okay? Who owned the companies? Right. Not a single woman in the country was involved in making women's pantyhose in any way, shape, or form. And most of the men, I can't vouch for all the men, but most of them probably were not using the product. There are some famous baseball pitchers who were, by the way. So she started to redesign the industry. She started to redesign that, but it took a lot of rejection. We're going to talk about that in a minute. It took a lot of rejection before this idea got off the ground. Eventually, she finally got it, after working and working and working with it, she finally got it to where Oprah took it, gave her a gift basket of her products, and Oprah basically afterwards said, I don't wear anything else but this anymore. Okay? That will launch your product. She went on QVC and in 6 minutes sold 8,000 pairs of these pantyhose for your body. 8,000. And so as a result, she became the youngest female multi-billionaire in the country off of pantyhose. J.K. Rowling, you've heard of her? Wrote a little book series called Harry Potter. Took 7 years to write the first book. And by the way, the idea for Harry Potter was conceived as she was stuck on a train that was delayed between Manchester and London. How many of us are stuck, and we sit there and use our time to think of something completely other than what creative idea? By the way, Sarah Blakely said that she got most of her ideas either while she was driving or in the shower. In fact, she had a 5-minute commute to work, and she turned it into a 30-minute commute by driving around so she could spend enough time in the car to have some ideas and to let that germinate. When she finally built her own offices, she actually built a commute room in the office so that she could go into that room. That was her room of creativity, if you will, and have that experience so that there was a place to just go and sit and think with nothing else to do. Okay? J.K. Rowling, in those 7 years, had her mother die, had her first baby, had her divorced from her husband, and was living on state benefits in near poverty as she was writing this book. Today, of course, she's a multi-millionaire, one of the most wealthy women in England, and probably one of the most famous people around. Okay? So these ideas, these excuses that we have of I'm too old, I'm too young, I don't have enough time, who am I, all that stuff, there's so many people who have done so much more. Where is your passion? Where is your passion, and will you express it? And the thing is that oftentimes we sit there and go, yeah, but that's too small. I have this passion, but it's just this little thing. Okay? J.K. Rowling wrote that story for her kids. J.R.R. Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, wrote The Hobbit for his kids. And now it's a, 3-segment movie, and it's a legend. We don't know where our dream is going to go once we launch it. We don't know how it's going to catch somebody else on fire to launch their dream, which is going to catch somebody else on fire to launch their dream. We don't know where our dream is going to go. And when we say it's too small, we're looking at the universe and basically saying, you don't know what you're doing, I know better than you, and so I'm just not going to bother. There's a song called I Fought the Law and the Law Won. Okay? I don't recommend doing that. When we have our passion, get wild, get playful, okay? Get proactive in that expression. Play outside the box. It's this morning at the 9 o'clock service, we had a little girl who was here, and I was talking about, and I'm going, where is she? And as I think Chris, said, she's outside the box. She wasn't in this particular box, okay? She's outside the box, okay? Can we get outside the box? Can we get wild and creative? Okay? Many inventions started off as mistakes or errors. One of the things that Sarah Blakely, she says she still wants to invent a comfortable stiletto for women. Before she dies, that's her goal, is to invent a comfortable, high-heeled stiletto shoe. Okay? Yeah, a lot of people would buy a pair. Okay? She looks at the world as, what does it need? How about if we looked at the world as inventors? What's needed here, and how can I start to create that? What wants to be created here, rather than just what's wrong? I don't like that. What if we looked at it as, how can I invent something that works here? See, we all can grumble, right? We talked about that earlier, and get buried with our grumbles. We can all complain. That's easy. Critics are a dime a dozen. Can we actually create something? And will we create what we're passionate about and what we know is ours to create? The world gets better as you express your joy, your passion, and the spirit within you. The bad news, if you will, or just the news, is you will meet opposition as you express your passion. You will meet opposition. Sarah Blakely met opposition. When she went around and tried to get Mills to do this, all the men said no. Do you know who finally did it, by the way? Some guy, plant owner, who had said, there's this woman at our plant today, she had this idea, and he told his daughters about it. Daughters. And they said, Dad, you need to make that. And that was her plant manager, or the guy who first started making it, was somebody who listened to his girls. Okay? We'll have internal opposition that says, who are you? You don't have enough, all the garbage, right? And then we'll have external opposition because other people don't see the vision of what we see. The Wright brothers' father was a fundamentalist Christian who told them they were going to hell because if God wanted us to fly, we would have been born with wings. Their own father. Okay? So we will meet with opposition as we try and do our ideas. Michael Beckwith says the mind of mediocrity always opposes the mind of excellence. Why is that? Because the mind of mediocrity wants to stay where it is. Sacred cows in the street. Vibrant, healthy, and alive as the traffic doesn't flow. That's what the mind of mediocrity wants. We all have that within us, and it is also all fully present on our planet in every culture. The mind of excellence has to rise above that, but it's in that rising, it's in that growing that we grow as people. We were talking a couple of weeks ago about rubies, and rubies are formed by heat and pressure. All jewels are formed by heat and pressure, and then if they really become valuable, they have to be burnished and polished and chopped up, right? And if you've ever really gone after a big idea, you probably begin to feel that way at times, right? Okay, I know I do sometimes. I did yesterday for part of the day. We had a leadership meeting. But are we willing to grow? Are we willing to grow through that process and continue to say, yes, I'm willing to grow through that? Martin Luther King Jr. had to grow through that. The original Martin Luther, had to go through that. Everybody who's ever accomplished anything has had to go through that opposition. And what it does is it refines and fires each of us as people and the idea as an idea so that it comes out more powerfully. So my invitation this week is to follow your passion anyway. Follow your passion, follow it in the face of the opposition, follow it in the face of both your own internal and the external resistance anyways. Let your consistent spiritual practice, your meditation, your prayer, your time spent in connection with that source of your seed, that source of your inspiration, spend time in connection with that, and it will continue to feed the seed, which is what we want to do. So that's my invitation to you this week, is to do that, to follow your passion, to find out what are the seeds that have been knocking on my door that I know, my door inside, will I plant one? Will I take one this week, big or small, and plant it and be more active in creating a world that works for all? I want to close with actually more of a story than a quote. Some of you may have heard of Malala, and I'm going to butcher her last name here, but Yousafzai. Malala Yousafzai. Yousafzai. Thank you so much. I knew somebody would know that. She's a teenage Pakistani girl that some of you may have heard about who was shot and seriously wounded by the Taliban because she supported education for girls. She recovered from that, and when she addressed the United Nations on her 16th birthday, speaking for herself and her friends, she said, "The Taliban thought that the bullets would silence us, but they failed." And out of this silence came thousands of voices. The terrorists thought that they would change our aims and stop our ambitions, but nothing changed in my life except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage were born. When she was interviewed, she was asked if she feared for her life. The Taliban still have a hit out on her. They want her dead. Malala's reply was, "The thing is, they can kill me. They can kill Malala. But it does not mean that they can kill my cause as well. My cause of education, my cause of peace, and my cause of human rights. My cause of equality will still be surviving. They only can shoot a body, but they cannot shoot my dreams." At age 17, she's the youngest Nobel Prize winner ever. Will you plant your dreams? Will you listen to your dreams? Some of us have shut it down so hard that we don't even hear our dreams anymore. So if that's you, would you be willing this week to just be willing to start to hear my dream, your own dream? If you do know what that dream is, will you be willing to take a step towards planting it? If you're already working on that, will you feed your seeds a richer fertilizer, a richer nutrition, and begin to allow it to blossom even more fully? Will you play with your passion and your joy this week? That is my invitation for you, and I hope you will take me up on it. To play with that passion and to let that Spirit guide you in that. Let's move into prayer. And so I know that there is only one life. That life is the power, the presence, the glory of this entire universe. That life is love. That life is wisdom. That life is the life energy, the aliveness, the vibrancy that runs through every single aspect of life in every single universe, everywhere, in any form, non-form, whatever shape it is. We call it God. We call it Tao. We call it Allah. We call it Adonai. We call it Spirit. We call it so many names, and it's beyond those names. It is that one source. Constantly in expression, constantly creating, expressing. And we recognize that each of us is a seed planted in the mind of God. We are the blossoming of life in this form, on this planet, in this place, at this time. We are that in process. We are that, the aliveness of that presence. That is who we are. And so I speak my word that we who have been given free choice, the ability to also to duplicate the nature of the divine, to plant seeds, plant those seeds, plant seeds of joy, plant seeds of passion, plant seeds of love, plant seeds of harmony, plant seeds of compassion, plant seeds of power and grace and glory. That we open up to the magnificence of who we truly are and plant and grow from that. We are farmers of the infinite. And so we allow that. We allow ourselves to be that supportive place that supports the growth of the true nature of the divine on this planet. We see past the illusion. We see past the suffering. We see past all the hating. We see past all the sadness. And we see a new vision. We see a new world. We see a new planet that is based on love. That is based on harmony. That is based on joy. That is based on integrity and authenticity. That is based on compassion. We allow ourselves to be the place that says yes to this. And in whatever way we are guided to make this happen, we say yes to that process. And so for each and every one of us who says yes, for each and every one of us who participates in this in a beautiful, conscious, awake way, in a willingness at whatever level we're at to play in creating a world that is a world of greater love, greater compassion, greater harmony, I am so grateful. For the Spirit that moves through us all and through this entire process, I am extremely grateful. And so in that gratitude, I release this word into law, into that process that grows this word into form, into an expression, into a beautiful flowering, blooming of all that it is necessary for us to live on this planet in a state of heaven as earth. And I know that it is being done right here and right now in our minds. The universe says yes. And we align ourselves with that by simply saying, and so it is. Thank you.
To love, serve.